You're building your team. Then the next step, you see what your team's made of.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, figuring out what you like
Yep.
and the people that are going to execute it.
But also don't
Have a sense of urgency.
Don't overthink it either. And that's when
Yes.
it all comes down to trust, which we always say, like, trust your
Yeah.
planner.
Yep.
Just trust your vendors.
Trust them.
You can please some of the people all of the time,
You can please all of the people some of the time.
but you can't please all of the people all of the time.
Welcome to the People Pleasers Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the People Pleasers Pod.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Woo!
How's it going?
Great.
Is it?
No, it's fine. I mean, yeah, I guess. Can't complain. Everything's good.
That's good.
Yeah, everything's fine
It's
with
like
me.
negative degrees out, but other than that,
Sucks. I woke up this morning and it said -7 and I was like,
yeah, and can't function.
no. But the sun's out at least. It would be worse if the sun wasn't out.
That's true.
I mean, at least the sun's shining.
Look at you finding the positive.
Doing my best. That's what I'm here for. You know, some weeks one of us needs to be a little bit more positive. Some weeks
That's true.
we just got to trade off a little bit.
I know.
Gotta balance that
And
energy.
the weeks when we're both positive, those are good.
Those are good weeks.
Those are good.
Those are really good weeks.
Oh,
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
You started your wedding season this weekend,
I
didn't you?
did,
How'd it go?
Yes, it went really good. It was a really, really sweet couple. Great vendor team.
It looked beautiful. Some of the photos she's been posting, I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah, it was really great.
Good.
No wedding party. Which
Nice.
we just talked about that.
How
with
did you
Mount.
feel about that? Did you like that?
So nice.
Yeah. Coming from like a
was-
vendor side, did you kind of like it?
Yeah, it was just so chill.
Yeah.
So chill.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bride ended up getting ready at Hotel Kansas City, and originally she was going to get ready at the venue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd planned to be at the venue all day, and so when she made the switch, she was like, "I genuinely don't need you there. Like, just go to the venue. Like, you're more needed there." I was like,
Say less,
I was
sis.
gonna suggest that honestly because I really don't think you need me because her dress and everything like that was at the venue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just a slower start to the day, which is always nice.
Yeah.
I knew what to expect when I was like getting there, which is rare.
Right.
So that was really
really
nice.
nice.
Yeah, just one venue all day. So
Yeah.
lots of stairs though. So my body is hurting.
You're hurting a little bit.
yeah,
Physically
we're still
hurting a little
recovering,
bit.
but-
Yes.
But other than that,
It's good.
no issues at all. They
Good.
had their dog there.
Always saw that story.
you see
I always
her?
love seeing your stories the next
you?
like few days after the wedding.
Yeah.
I always look through them.
See, I used to post them like the next day.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm going to give myself a full day to just recover. No.
Yes.
Thank
We
you.
need some claps for that.
I know.
Way to go.
Seriously. Seriously. I was
And
like,
you
I'm
know
gonna
what's funny? Never noticed that you did
Yeah.
it the day before and now you don't.
No.
Didn't even
literally,
know.
Nobody knows.
No.
Yeah.
But I'd
So-
love to see it.
Yeah.
I would notice if I didn't see them.
Right.
I do love seeing them.
Yeah. It is fun going back and doing
Yeah.
them because it takes me like a full hour to go through and
Yeah.
like post things and
You have so
Tag
many and
people.
it's you have so many people, but they're so fun to see. I love it.
Yeah,
I
I
also
know.
kind of love it because I'm like, ooh, this is what Sarah's up to. Now I get to ask her about it.
yeah, exactly.
I
You get a
love
little
it.
bit of insight
Yeah.
with how the day went just based on that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I give myself a day and then I do it on Monday.
Yeah.
So, because I
Good.
normally will still take a Monday off after working over the weekend,
As one should.
as one should.
one
Yes. So that's like, if that's the one thing of work I do that day, I'm like, that's okay. Because it's just reliving the fun weekend. So
Yeah. Good. How did it feel like getting back into like, does it feel like we're in a new year? Because like you have a little bit of a break now until your
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah.
Does it feel like this wedding was part of like last year or does it actually feel like this year?
No, for me, I feel like I always, anytime I have a January wedding, I always lump it into like the 2024, I
previous
guess we'll say,
year. Yeah.
season.
I feel like I would too.
Yeah, because now it's like I had the little break. I had no weddings in December, which was really nice. So
Woo.
I had that off, and then, but knowing that I had the Jan one, I was like, okay, we're just gonna kind of lump that in, and now I get the break until April when things really pop off in the spring. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's kind of nice. Kind of nice to have one where you're not just having a full break of nothing.
Yes.
You kind of
get yourself back into it a
yes,
bit.
yes. You're
Yeah.
kind of get back into that routine, get a feel for it, kind of familiarize
Yeah.
your mental and your body.
Yes.
To be like, okay, yep, I'm
I
good.
know what I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is fine.
That is really nice. I feel like a January wedding would be fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I had
Yeah.
one last year too. Last year it snowed, so that was fun.
Oh,
And it wasn't like an issue.
right.
I was like, it could go one of two
It was
ways.
a pretty snow.
Right, because
Yeah.
there was actually that blizzard
I
that we had a few
know.
weekends ago. That was on a Saturday.
I know.
Or it came in on Saturday, and
That
Meredith
broke my
Graves
heart.
had a wedding that weekend. So she was telling me about that. So
That broke
I
my
was
heart
just
for
like,
so many people.
I know, but I was just like, thank goodness. Selfishly, like, I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with that. Like, that would have been a lot. So
Yeah, I'm
but
glad you
yeah.
didn't have to deal with that either. I would want a snowy wedding day. I don't take weddings when it's snow, but I am kind of like, I kind of want one just for
Yeah.
this. Just for, I hope I have some snow.
I know.
Because that would be really pretty. As long as it's not hazardous and
Exactly.
too much.
You
Just
can
like
still
a
drive
pretty.
in it. Yeah,
right. Or it's left
exactly.
over and it's still there and it's like pretty and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
But
it went
was really
well.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
My body, like I said, it was because having that break and then getting back into it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was a long day.
That is, how long were you there?
Actually, not too bad since I went a little bit later. I was there from like 11 to like 9:30.
Not too bad. Still a full ass day.
I know, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Only like
It was
12
under
hours.
12 hours. It was under 12
It was under
hours.
12.
Amazing.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, it was good. It was just really, really chill.
Good.
Nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody did a great job.
It's always nice.
Yeah, the Chiefs played, so I didn't get to watch any of the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We had TVs downstairs, so it worked out perfectly with cocktail hour. They all got to see the end of the game. So I
Right.
heard a bunch of people cheering down there. So I was like, okay, we must have won.
Yeah.
Like, this is good.
good
I didn't watch
news.
a single second, but that's okay.
But a positive
long as we
outcome.
won.
I'll
Yeah.
watch it next week.
Exactly.
We're back on Sundays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad it went well. I personally, I can't really wrap my head around having a wedding yet.
Really?
I don't have one
Yeah.
until the end of March, which is
Yeah.
like, that's not that far away. But I don't know what it is yet. I can't wrap my head around a wedding date yet. I'm not back in
You
that
don't have
space
to, though,
yet.
so you're fine.
True. Yeah. I have
You-
time.
Exactly. So
have time.
let yourself sit in that.
This
you
is
don't
my
have
time
to focus
not,
on it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's in like the planning process now of like I'm now working with my 2026 and then
Yeah.
like just finishing off with like my end of year this year
Mm-hmm.
with timelines and communication that I'm kind of like, all right, well, this year's pretty much kind of wrapped. Really now working to 2026. That's where I'm like, we're in the planning stages. And I'm like, oh, this is where it comes into like engagements and wedding every week, all the time, that I need to sit back and
Yes,
not think
let
about
it
that
be
yet.
slow.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I think I recognize that I'm not ready to jump into that just yet. Still in a break.
Yeah.
Still have time.
Right. And I'm very glad that timing wise of this wedding, like if I would have had it the week before, I was like miserable.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
thank goodness it happened when it did.
Yeah.
And I feel like that always kind of happens. It's like my body knows you're allowed to be sick right now.
Yeah.
And when you're not.
Yeah.
So far, so good. But that is always like in the back of my mind, like, oh my God, what if I'm just like absolutely miserable on one of these days?
Dude, I'm not.
So,
I'm
kind
kind
of
of
hasn't happened yet. So.
I'm waiting for that day to happen because I've gotten close, but I've been able to kind of somewhat power through that it wasn't the worst that it could be.
Right.
And I am just very nervous for the date that happens.
No, we're not going to talk about it.
No,
though.
we're not.
We're just going to let that thought go.
We're going to let that go away and we'll talk about it when it happens, which is never.
Exactly.
It's
Never.
not. Never.
Never gonna
Never.
happen.
Never going to happen.
We're perfect.
We are. We're great. We're doing great.
But yeah, how was your weekend?
It was good. It's I think also why I can't really wrap my head around like weddings is it's football. It's just football right now. It's football. It's family. It's friends. It's people that are in town. People are staying with us. Just figuring out Holt's schedule day to day, week to week. It's constantly changing. So I think that's where my mind is just like, let's just get it over with and let's figure it out and let's move on. And then I think once like usually late February hits, that's where I'm like, all right, it's time. It's wedding time.
Really? See, I'm like all of February. I'm just like, nope.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's different because I still have meetings every day.
True.
You know, but it's just like, just having those weekends still.
Yeah.
So nice.
I think it's just because it's like it's finally not in a bad way. We kind of stopped talking about football.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, now we
You have the
really can
capacity
just
to-
start talking
yeah.
about my season
Yeah.
because it's from there I think we start to plan our off season together and like Holt's off season, and that's where I kind of am like, okay, your off season blends in the start of my season. So that's when I think in my brain I'm like, all right, we're there, we're getting
Allowing
there.
myself to think about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So I think like late February, early March is when I'll really just be like, all right, I'm ready. But right now,
Soak in these last couple
it's all
weeks.
on football.
Yeah.
All about football. But no, it's been good.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be a busy weekend. Sunday will be a big day. It'll be good.
You're going to go to the game? Oh my gosh. You're going to go to the game?
Yes, I am. Yep, I'll go to the game. We have some friends staying with us and really excited to see them. Holt's family will be here, so it'll be a very busy, fun weekend. But yeah, I'm excited. It'll be good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention it was Zach's birthday over the weekend.
It was.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
Zach.
happy birthday, Zach.
Oh, how was that?
It was chill.
Yeah.
It
was
on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on Sunday. He saw a bunch of friends on Saturday, like watched the Chiefs game with friends, saw some friends. His cousin came into town for the game, so he went to dinner with him and his wife after
Fun.
the game. So he had like a very busy social Saturday. So on Sunday, which it's great, he was just like, I just want to chill with you. Like, I know that you're hurting. Like, genuinely do not feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's my birthday.
Like, this is what I want.
He's like, this is my 32nd birthday, Sarah. Like, I've had plenty of birthdays. Like, it's totally
and
fine.
plenty more. Like,
Yes,
this is just one
exactly.
that's meant to be just kind of chill.
Yeah.
I had my fun yesterday. I just
Yep.
want quality time on the couch with you.
And that's what we did.
That's so
So it was great. We were
good.
going to go out to dinner. And then actually earlier in the week, I was kind of like, hey, Zach.
Hey,
what are
so
your
what?
thoughts? I was like, we can totally keep it.
Yeah.
It's your birthday. But I was like, what
hear
are
me
your
out.
thoughts if we just like push your dinner like a week? And he was like, honestly, I'd rather watch football anyway. So I was
Yeah.
like, perfect.
Deal.
Sounds good.
And it
So-
just prolongs the celebration. It's kind of fun when you do kind of spread it out a little bit,
Yeah.
where it's not just 1 or 2 days of the weekend or the week. It's like, no, let's do it kind of like with holidays. Like, let's do
Right.
it this
Spread it
week
all
and we'll
out.
celebrate this weekend. Yeah, it's kind of just
Yeah.
takes the
I know. Pressure off of
the
one
pressure
day.
off of. Yes. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so
There's
we're doing that.
I didn't realize I have so many friends that have January birthdays.
Really?
Because it's Zach's birthday, Caroline's birthday. I still want to call her straight or Loki. Same thing.
Yeah.
Her birthday was yesterday.
Dang it. Happy birthday, Caroline.
Happy birthday, Caroline.
I
You can
missed
text her
it.
later. It's fine.
Yeah.
Caroline's was yesterday. My friend Kelly's is today. My Papa's is on Sunday. I didn't realize I had so many
Wait,
January
what sign
birthday
is
friends.
that? I don't even know my husband's sign.
I don't even know any signs. I know mine and I know Holt's, and that's it.
See, I don't even know Zach's.
Only
What
because
is it?
Holt says, I'm a Ford Taurus.
I'm a Taurus.
Yeah, you guys are within a week of each other.
That's right.
Because he's 13 and you're 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're literally a week apart. Oh, you're Ford Tauruses.
We're both Ford
Yeah, I don't know what to-
Tauruses.
I
I'm
don't
literally
know.
looking it up right now because I want to know. January.
I wish I knew this stuff more. Because I find it interesting.
I find it interesting too, but the fact that I don't even at one point I knew his because I definitely like when we first started dating looked
You're
up
like,
are we compatible? Yeah.
Compatibility. Do we hate
But-
each other? Are we doomed?
No, literally. But now I'm like couldn't tell you.
Now I wanna look
Didn't
at that.
memorize it. I feel like it's one that starts with a
Aquarius?
C.
Oh.
Capricorn.
Ah.
It's Capricorn.
Capricorn.
He's the very last day of Capricorn. So
Oh.
now it's Aquarius, I
No, it's
think.
Aquarius.
Don't quote me on that.
I'll take your word for it. I have no
Anyways.
idea. No, I do love it. I want to maybe that's some homework. Let's look into
We
that
need
a
to do
little bit
that
more.
and we need to do the Enneagram again.
Fuck, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Shoot, I forgot. Fuck, shoot, same thing. It's like, why did I
Dang
not?
it.
All right, we have homework.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. We have homework
Get
next
to it
time.
when we get to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Zach had a good birthday.
Yeah.
Hope all
We
the
did.
January peoples have the good birthdays.
I know.
Woo.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
Capricorns,
everyone.
And what did we just say? Aquarius?
Watch, Aquarius is going to be like July. Happy birthday to you, too.
Happy birthday to everybody.
Happy birthday,
who
everyone.
celebrated a birthday and who will be celebrating a birthday
Yeah.
this year.
Happy birthday.
We just love you.
All right.
Ready.
Well,
Obviously.
thank you. I had it in my head. I was like, all right, so don't say obviously.
That's why I said it. Okay.
Want to fight? Roundhouse kick.
I can't do this. My back. I gotta.
Please
do
don't hurt
less.
yourself.
Gotta do less.
Do less, Sarah, do less.
Do less. I have to tell myself that on the daily.
I will remind you too.
Thank you.
All right. Well, since we're talking about weddings, we figured already, the wedding season has started. The wedding season is all the time. It really is. There are peak seasons and there are not as peak seasons, but weddings are happening all the time. But what's happening right now and in the last month has been engagement season. Heavy engagement season. So we figured it might be a good thing to kind of do a little bit of some wedding education. Maybe kind of walk through
101.
those people that have just gotten engaged, and maybe you don't necessarily know where to start, or it's overwhelming, or you just need, some tips, some tricks, some reassurance, or just you're curious about the process itself. We're here to help. So we figured we might make this kind of a, yeah.
I just go.
Sarah goes, yeah, I'm ready.
Come on. Okay.
But we figured this might be a good thing to do in a little series. So we'll kind of break it apart with like the planning process. Obviously, everyone's process is different based on when you get engaged and when you plan to have your wedding. So timeline wise, things can always change. Everyone's wedding day is different, but at least we can kind of walk you through the overarching and some of the finer details of the process.
Where to start?
Where do you heckin' start, Sarah?
Heckin'.
Where do you heckin' start to plan a wedding? So you just got engaged.
So glad you asked.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
What do you do?
Well, that's a great question.
What do you do, Sarah?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, my brain.
Yeah.
You're going to start by hiring your vendors. But to start there, one of two places. You need your wedding date. So typically you'll start with your venue.
Yep.
And then from there, where do you find a venue? That's the hard part. So some
That is
people
tough.
are like, would I rather just hire my wedding planner to start? They'll help guide me through that whole process. The thing with that is, without having a set date, it can get tricky where if you commit and then it ends up being a conflicting date, you don't have as much flexibility.
Right.
But there's pros and cons to both, basically. My brain
That's
is not
okay.
in education mode right now. I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay. It's okay. We can start and stop and go from wherever you want to go.
I'm so professional. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I will guide you in the
We
right
all
direction.
know this. We all know that. This is a different hat you have on right now.
No, literally.
This is a different hat. It's a different way of
My
thinking.
little-
Literally.
Did you hear that?
You do have a hat today.
Yeah.
Is that your stomach?
That was my mouth.
Oh.
I was just going.
I was going to say, it was impressive.
I know. I don't know why I did that.
That's okay.
This is just it's the post-weekend. Wait, post-wedding weekend, Sarah. This is what you get every time I have a wedding.
It is going to be interesting in the spring when
Oh,
we're both in the
shoot.
thick of it. We're going to be like, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. All right.
We're drinking.
We're drinking.
Ask me random questions. You can always answer those.
Always.
No, but as far as where to find your venue, if you don't have a wedding planner, the Knot is a good place to start. But
Yeah.
there's also pros and cons to the Knot.
Yeah. So like here specifically, this episode these 3 episodes will probably be geared more towards the Kansas City market and what we have available as far as like resources and tools and stuff like that. So mainly the people listening are from Kansas City anyway, or around this area. But FYI, it's going to be pretty Kansas City focused. So the Knot, there's also technically, okay, see, this is where I'm like, I should probably know this. Like WedKC, they have magazines, publications, yes. So like that's another, they have a website. That's another like tool you can use. They have an Instagram. I feel like the Knot, wedding wear isn't a thing anymore, is it?
Is it not?
I don't know. Maybe it is. I thought it got bought out or something.
I'm not gonna lie. I have never used wedding wire.
I didn't. The only time I did was at our old job, so that's why it came up. But I feel like those, along with obviously referrals from your friends, referrals from family,
You've been to weddings in the Kansas City area,
right,
You can kind of have an idea of that right from the start,
right, and those are probably the best ways to find your vendors, or at least get somewhat of an idea, and then kind of going from there. Because then usually some vendors too, maybe they're available, maybe they're not. They'll give you recommendations on people, but I feel like word of mouth is the best way to get one. I feel like the Knot and those types of things do help, but I feel like they can also be a little bit of a detriment because it's more impersonal.
Yeah.
Who knows if the information's up to date? Who knows? It's just kind of like really judging a book off of its cover, which that's also how it is finding any vendor. You're basing it off of someone else's experience or someone else's wedding. So like, who knows? But I think that while it's a great tool and I think it can lead you to other places, I really think word of mouth and Instagram is such a great place to start, especially venue wise.
Definitely. And that's why I always like it when people have their venue before coming to me, which I know I kind of hit on that before. Because your venue also will have a recommended vendor list, and they're some venues only allow certain wedding planners in the space. So you don't want to get to a point where you've already hired your wedding planner. You find this venue that you absolutely love, but they may not allow us to come in.
That's so wild. I forget about that.
So, and every venue is different. So that's why I always just recommend starting there before your planner. Some others might say opposite.
Yeah.
Start with your planner and then do the venue search from there. Because the perk of that is we can help you schedule those tours. We can reach out to those venues for you. We can give you recommendations based on what we know about your style and what you're looking for. Are you wanting it to actually be downtown Kansas City? Are you wanting something with a little bit more land and having that indoor-outdoor feel? So there's so many different aspects that go into it, and you may not even know either. Like at the start, you might be like, I have never even thought about my wedding day. I don't know what I like, what I don't like. So that's the perk of having that planner to kind of help guide you. Just by asking specific questions that you might be like, why are you asking me this? But it's for a reason. But yeah, that's really the starting point.
The big start. Yeah. I feel like either way, you're either asking yourself the questions or you're asking a wedding planner the questions. Like, what season, what style, what like, I know location sounds broad, but like you said, do you want a city? Do you want some land? Do you want a mixture? Are you getting married in a church? Like, I think that's the big logistic piece to answer is, are we going to have it all in one space? Are we moving around? I think just narrowing down the big ideas of where are we going to say I do? Where are we going to dance?
And what is that date going to be? So that way I can go and hire my team. And it's based on availability on the date. So it all starts there.
True. I guess I never really thought about that because most people, there's always a few, but most people come to me already having their date. Because usually if they don't, I'm kind of like, all right, well, keep me updated, but I can't promise I'm going to have it available or anything like that, which usually people that come to me like that are like, oh, we're booking within a week. This is kind of what we have planned. It's never usually like, we don't know. This is just kind of what, like, usually everyone kind of has it ironed out, but mainly everyone comes to me already having a date. Do you have a lot of people kind of doing that, or does mainly everyone have their date when they come to you?
Majority of the time they already have their date and venue, but sometimes that's not the case. Like, and it's only happened once where they came to me or to us and they said it was a military spouse and fiance. Fiance was in the military. So didn't necessarily know his availability right away, but they thought it was going to be like maybe February, March, early spring, end of winter of 2025. Turns out his availability ended up being in December only over the holidays, and it was a weekend that I couldn't take. We'd already signed on. So thankfully, with our company, there's multiple lead planners. Another one of the lead planners just took it from me.
Had it available,
but if that wasn't the case, like if I was just the only one, then that's why it gets tricky where you're like, you can't just hold all of these dates for something that may or may not open up. You know what I mean? Yeah, that is just kind of, I'm thinking about that in knowing that there are planners that do work with people prior to having their date. And maybe they have just a different process that works of like, we're just only going to look at dates I have available and that's it. And like, you're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You just have less flexibility. Right. So maybe that's kind of how it works for some. Or again, they have a team, they have larger capacity that like, regardless, we'll have someone for you. But I have never really kind of thought about that. Usually I'm always like, yep, venue and then vendors. But I guess it can go either way, depending on your situation. Right. Like I have a couple right now. A couple couples that right now they hired me first. They don't have their date or venue just yet, but they're more flexible with their date. It's not like that situation. It's rare when it's like we have to do it at a very specific time, like that last situation was. So if you have more flexibility, then great. But then it's not really a problem. Right. But it's just you have to find something that works for both the venue and the planner, so you're coordinating it with two different vendors instead of just starting with that one and then going from there. No, that makes sense. So you can do it either way. But the first stop is first stop is your date. First stop is your date. Figuring out what you guys kind of want, having a backup plan, going into it with here's kind of what we have as an idea. Now let's figure out kind of what we like as far as physically and literally the building or the area or whatever it's going to be. And finding those spaces, whether it's literally typing it on Google, asking your friends, hey, how did you find your venue? How did you even know where to look? I feel like just so much of Instagram, Google, and asking people. That's the first place to start. Definitely. So you got that. So then after you have your date, I would go to planner from there. If you're not hiring a planner, that's another story. But obviously, being a planner, I'm going to talk about if you hire a planner.
As a photographer, I'm going to recommend you do that.
Exactly. We're going to talk that route for today.
Yes. And not even, because I think people, I've noticed in inquiries, people will be like, I say, like, in the first questions I ask after their inquiry, I'm like, do you plan on hiring a wedding planner? And I've noticed, I think there needs to be some sort of like, somewhat of an education of like, we're not doing a wedding planner, but we're doing a wedding coordinator. And I'm like, okay. In my head, that's the same thing.
Because to you, you're like, as long as I have somebody there on the day.
Right.
Great.
Right. But then also I think too, I'm like, is that wedding coordination? Is that a venue manager? Which one are you referring to? But I think a lot of people think wedding planner with them the whole time. Because then they go in and they're like, oh, I could do full service. I could do 6 months. I could do day of. So I think regardless, just having someone under the planner category.
Right.
I don't know where I was going with that, but I just noticed that a lot of where people are like, no, we're actually not. And I'm like, well, you are, but let me make sure we are on the same page of, is that a coordinator or is it a venue manager that you're talking about?
Right. So the difference there, the venue manager is strictly focusing on the venue.
Yeah.
Whether that means the bar is included in the venue, then they're managing all of the bar aspects as well. But basically, that's their responsibility. Yeah. Is that building itself and the people that are included within that building.
Yeah. What are can you give some examples of some differences as far as, like you said, responsibilities? Like, yes, they are completely in charge of everything venue related. So what are some things that would be different as far as like things they are not responsible for?
Yeah. So many things.
I know. I'm like, well, how much time do we have?
Well, first of all, your timeline and running the show on the day. They're not paying attention to that. Obviously to an extent, but they're not going to look at all those little details that are happening throughout the day. That's what your planner is for. Yeah. Anything setup wise that is not included with the venue, that would be on your planning team. Of course, I say that, but then of course, a lot of things fall under other vendors as well. It just depends. Right. So like any rentals through the florist, they're going to handle all of that setup, including the flowers and candles and things like that. But anything else that you're bringing in addition, if you're bringing in like specialty linens that need to be laid, your guest book, your cards and gifts, anything that you're bringing in yourself, that your venue's not responsible for setting any of that up for you. Right.
They're mainly there to literally unlock the door, turn the lights on, make sure pending
the bar
on
is stocked, the toilets
bar
are clogged,
staff,
the floors are clean. The layout most of the time is set. So
and tables and chairs if it's included.
And that depends. Like most venues in Kansas City do include the tables and chairs, and sometimes even linens. Right. But that's why it's important to read those details. Yes. Before you sign the contract with the venue to see what all is included and what all you need to provide.
Right. And I've also noticed now too, a couple friends that I have getting married that have toured venues and have kind of asked me questions, whether I'm their photographer or not. A lot of places and venues now are including like in-house coordination. Now I have noticed, and I'm like, okay, awesome. Tell me what they include. Like, tell me what they told you. Hey, this is included. Hey, we're going to be responsible for this, this, and this. Because I don't want you thinking, oh, they're going to take care of this. But that's actually not something they have on their list. But it's not something you even are aware of. That's missing. That's going to get dropped or things like that. What are there any specific, because she was asking me like, what should I ask them as far as like, what do they do? Are there any things that come to like mind for you? And I know this is kind of hard and more detail oriented, but are there things that people can ask their venues that do offer in-house coordination to really make sure they're not missing anything kind of off the bat? Is there anything specifically they really should be asking? Is this included? Is this your responsibility or whose is it?
Yeah. First big one, how far out do you actually start working with them as far as the coordination goes? Is it literally just like that day they're going to coordinate things on the day? You have to do everything else up until that point? Right. Or do they come in at a specific point, like, I don't know, 2 months out or something like that? Right. Are they going to do that timeline with you? Because it's particular. You don't have to. It's obviously you can customize it based on what you want for your wedding day. But are they going to help bring that to life and put it all together with you, or are you responsible for coming up with all that on your own and just hoping that it makes sense for all your vendors? Right. Do they do any vendor coordination. Do they reach out to all your vendors to see what time they plan to arrive for setup?
Right.
Are they cross-checking those vendor contracts on the day to make sure that everything you paid for is actually there? I don't want to speak for them, but I would guess in most cases, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never worked with, obviously. I am the planner.
Right,
so
right. I guess I'm speaking more experience on my end where I have a lot of people now because I think a lot of venues now are including in-house coordination, but being on the other side, I've noticed where things have then fallen on me because there isn't a outside wedding planner of a vendor, and not that the in-house coordination is not great and awesome and not that they're not doing everything a wedding planner would. However, I do notice sometimes there is a disconnect with certain things. They maybe are like, yep, this is our responsibility, but then they're not maybe educating the couple of like, well, this actually needs to get done and we aren't responsible for this. And so I think there is just what I've noticed, some issues day of that arise because the communication was lacking because the couple didn't know they needed to ask questions. The venue maybe didn't know or think it was important to mention these things. So then it kind of falls on other vendors to kind of pick up the slack of like, wait, you're not sending people down the aisle, then who's doing that?
Thank you. I had that thought. I was like, as far as who's going to get everybody lined up in the correct order for the processional.
Right.
And actually cue the couples to go down the aisle.
Couples.
Your people.
Cue your people to go down the aisle. And I know that sounds like a small detail, but it is little things like that. Like that has happened to me at a ceremony before where I'm standing there and I stood up at the front for about 15 minutes.
Right. It's not smooth and your guests are sat there like, what's happening?
The ceremony started 30 minutes late because there was no communication on that. So, and I know that doesn't fall on the couple. It does fall on like the venue to make sure they're communicating and not faulting the venue, but I think there just needs to be
clear communication.
Yes.
Not.
Right.
And
so couples
that you might need in addition to what we're providing.
Exactly. So couples that you are choosing to do your in-house coordination, which is great. It's people that know the venue. Like, honestly, it's a great option. Just make sure that you're clearly communicating every aspect of the day, every part of the day clearly with your venue to know who's responsible for what, so nothing gets missed and it doesn't leave room for error.
Right. And not only that, it's like, what if you're having your ceremony somewhere else and you have transportation in between?
Right.
Your venue's not going to be there to coordinate any of that because they're strictly the venue.
Yep.
So while you're getting ready, normally if you hire me or most planners, I would assume, at least for myself is all I can speak for, I'm going to show up while you're getting your hair and makeup done and make sure that we're still on time as far as hair and makeup's going. I'm going to help you get into your dress. I'm going to make sure, like, I'm going to have my emergency kit there.
Yes.
Somebody needs something from it every single morning.
Right.
Whether it's boob tape, scissors, ibuprofen.
All the things. Yes.
All the things. So who's going to help you with all of that?
Right.
And make sure everything, the biggest thing is the timeline, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be paying attention to the time on your wedding day.
No.
You just want to be able to sit there and be present and soak in every moment and not be worried about what's to come next.
Right. So maybe it is kind of being as detail oriented in the, and we'll get into timelines later, but specifically in the full day wedding timeline, going through that with your venue, if they're doing in-house coordination, and really checking off, are you going to be here? Are you present for this? Are you responsible for this? Am I responsible for this? Okay, then who is doing it? Really kind of walking through every single detail with them instead of just assuming.
Yeah.
Because I think there's always kind of going to be a disconnect unless you're fully asking those specific questions.
And like you said, it's hard to know what to ask.
Exactly.
So
ask us.
Hire me.
So hire Sarah. Yeah, not me.
Or just listen to this podcast. We'll help you as much as we can.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so let's say you have your venue hired.
Woo!
Woohoo! You know where you're getting married.
Got that date.
You've got that date secure, and now you are scheduling a couple different meetings with different planners to see who's the best fit. And side note on that, I think it's really, really important to not just schedule one meeting with one planning company. Schedule two at minimum. I wouldn't do more than two, honestly, to start, because then you can get really overwhelmed. But I would do two because your planner and your photographer, we talked about this last week, spend the most amount of time with you on your wedding day. So making sure from a personality perspective that you guys mesh is so, so important. So
number one quality.
Yeah.
When looking for one.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other factors that can go into it, but make that one your first priority.
Yeah.
Look through their Instagram, look through their tagged photos, look through their highlights, literally look through everything.
Right. Totally.
Do your homework.
And schedule that discovery call.
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna know right then and there if you guys are a good fit.
Right.
And so anyways.
Also,
Yeah.
what's important too, which I'm sure we'll get into where we go from here, but since this is the first one, the ones that you do not feel the fit with, email them back.
Let them know.
Let them know. Let all of your vendors know, but specifically with this one first, it's okay. We would rather hear that you found someone.
That's a
I'm
better
speaking
fit.
from PhotoWise,
No, I
but
agree.
we would rather hear that you found someone that works great for you rather than never hearing again.
And just not responding to the follow-ups.
Right. Because then, that's more
wasting
work on
everybody's
us
time.
to
Yeah.
keep you in our pipeline, to reach out to you for another week, to wonder, hey, is this date going to get booked? Am I going to need, do I need to set up
hold
a
this?
meeting?
Yeah.
So as soon as you know they're not the one, tell them. Tell them.
No hard feelings.
Doesn't even have to be a whole long thing. Just, hey,
We get it.
we found someone that works
There's a
better.
lot of great vendors
Thank you.
in Kansas City.
Yes.
In particular.
Yes.
So it's fine.
Just tell them.
Yep. Agreed.
But when you do find that one,
Once you do find that one. Well, before you even have that
and it's
meeting.
Sarah. Just kidding.
And it's Sarah Downing. But before you even go into that, two things I would recommend doing. First of all, talk to whoever is paying for the wedding, whether that be you and your fiance, whether it's bride's parents, whether it's a contribution from bride's parents, groom's parents. Figure out what the budget is for the day.
How do you do
It's hard to start.
How
Does
one
well,
do
first
that?
of all, it's hard to know. I know what things cost
Right.
up front.
Right.
So, and you're not supposed to know. Genuinely, like, how much can you guys spend without going into debt on this wedding day?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. But I will say, as far as a downtown Kansas City wedding,
what I was
the
gonna ask.
minimum that you're going to be spending is around like $60,000. Fuck. Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm a part of the industry. I get it.
Of course, this varies. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I would say
Right.
average for, a good size wedding, 200-ish guests. That's probably the minimum you're going to be spending.
Yeah.
Of course, the guest list is your number one way to get that down.
Right.
Because think of all the things that come from having all those guests. It's more centerpieces for the tables. It's more place settings. It's a higher count for your caterers.
Right.
Higher count for bar. So the number one way to get that down is by cutting people from that guest list.
Yeah. Which I guess we didn't even mention, and this would have been, now that I'm thinking about it.
This goes into picking
Finding your venue.
is at least a rough guest list
Yes.
to know
Where you can
you're
even
at,
fit.
what capacity wise.
Yes. All right. So back up.
Ignore us.
Ignore us. So do that first, then go from there.
Yeah.
Then figure out your style. No, you still need to know your style.
Yeah.
Go with that first, then figure out
It's kind
guest
of
count of like, can I
simultaneous,
fit
yeah.
there? Can I not?
Right. And
Yeah.
you don't need to have like your actual guest list, just like a rough estimate. This is roughly how many we think we
Right.
will be inviting.
Right.
So, and then of course, if you find a venue that you absolutely love, then that just is going to limit your guest list based on their capacity.
Right.
So
it'll kind of force you to
you
make
can
some
kind of do
decisions,
it,
honestly.
yeah, one of two ways, but at least have an idea. Like you need to obviously make sure you have a big enough space for
Right.
who you're looking at to
Right.
invite. But
Right. But then that, like you said, goes into your budget.
goes into your
You
budget.
can kind of think more based per head, per dinner, per all. I'm getting ahead of myself, obviously, with that because you're not there yet. But the more people, the more expensive. So, how many do you want to invite?
yeah.
Who's important? No, I'm just kidding. Everyone's
Where do we
important.
draw the line?
Where do we? Well, I'll tell you where we draw the line.
Yeah. Where do you plan to one day? I'm just kidding. We won't talk about you right now.
You don't invite people you haven't spoken to in years. I don't know. I could go. That's a hot topic that I feel passionate about. Of like,
We could do an episode on creating your guest list. So
one day
add it to the list.
when I'm there, I'll let you know.
Sounds-
When I'm there, I'll let you know what I'm going through.
Sounds good. Amazing. But anyways, going into that initial call with your planner, it's a good idea to have at least somewhat of an idea of what your budget is, knowing that if it's strict or flexible. So we have to stick to this budget?
Right.
Or is there room for, if we have a really cool idea later on, things like that.
Right.
How flexible is your budget? And then in addition to that is starting a Pinterest board. It's really, really important. Even if you are the type of girl, like I was even the type of girl that never really thought like this is what my dream wedding looks like.
Right.
Never had a wedding Pinterest board, like
Right.
none of that. But it is so helpful for your vendors.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Can't read your mind.
We can't read your mind. And we could sit there and present a bunch of different options, but that's just a waste of our time too.
Right.
We may be completely off
Right.
based on what you like.
True.
And you might not even know what you like, but as long as you are just pinning things that you're like, ooh, I like this. I like this.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's
when
not
I say you might not know what you like,
wise.
right? It's like your vendor is going to look at it with a different lens. Like you might be pinning photos of a bunch of centerpieces that have taper candles. So we're like, okay, great. They definitely don't want floating candles. They like a taper candle. Like we're
Right.
looking at it with a different eye than you might be when you're pinning the things that you
Right.
like. But just starting there.
A little goes a long way with that.
Mm-hmm.
It might feel to you like this is random, this is whatever, but yeah, like you said, your vendors are going to know what you're looking for based on what you show them, but they need something to go off of.
Right. Because then how are we going to know what your budget or what your... Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself now too.
I know, it's hard.
You put together that initial budget, but then at least for our process after hiring, we go in, we have an in-depth meeting with everything that you want, dream wedding. We hit every single topic.
Right.
Like, would you rather have a band or a DJ? What's most important to you out of all of this? Like,
Right.
what's your favorite style of photography? Like, do you like a more like cool tone or warm or
Right.
more, documentary style or versus editorial? So many different questions. And it gets overwhelming because I totally get it. If you are not the type of person who has thought about these things, you're going to be like, I don't know. I don't
no
know what I
idea.
like. Tell me.
Yeah.
But it's your wedding at the end of the day.
Yeah. We can't tell you. We can help and
Yes.
encourage and find, but like we need something at the end of the day to go off of to show you what you want. We got to
Yeah.
know what you like.
Yeah. And even if you're not going to create a Pinterest board, as long as you're like saving things on Instagram or something
Right.
like that to give us somewhat of a visual
Right.
of what you're thinking you like at this point, knowing that it can change entirely.
Right.
But at least a starting point is
Right.
crucial.
Right. And this doesn't have to fully fall on one partner. This, I know where it's like a lot of people too are like, yeah, the grooms just kind of show up or whoever just kind of shows
They
up.
only
It's
care
like,
about the bar.
right,
or
right.
the DJ. or-
Right.
Yeah.
Like make sure these conversations are being had. You two, like I this is me in my opinion, have the conversations before the meeting.
Yeah.
Get on the same page before the meeting. Make sure you guys kind of somewhat know what you're wanting so it doesn't feel in the meeting like one person is answering, one person is having an opinion. Like really make sure you're on the same page so when you're in it, it feels like a full team effort and it's not just one person and then it's also just falling on one person to make the
Taking
decisions
some
and
of that
hoping
pressure
they're
off of you.
hoping
It's
they're
a
making everyone
partnership.
happy. Exactly. But just really making sure you're having each conversation before each meeting with your planner with whatever vendor it is. So you guys are on the same page and it's
Yeah.
not just on one person.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would still do either planner or venue. I'm going to say venue first, then planner. 'Cause
Yep.
I'm sticking to it for now.
I would agree. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that in my head, that makes sense. I need the date before I can literally do anything else. And like, not that a planner is very, very helpful when it comes to the venue.
Oh, for sure.
But that is something that you can do. You
know
can
what
do on
you
your
like.
own. Yes,
Yeah.
you can do. If you need guidance, it is more than helpful. But you're okay doing that one alone.
Right.
You are okay,
Right. Definitely.
in my opinion. I'm not the planner.
I agree.
It's easy for me to say, but I think that
But
one
I
you
agree
can do.
though, 100%. Or even if you you have your venue tours lined up
Right.
at the same time, maybe you have that discovery call with some planners. So that way you're like, nothing's set in stone with the date just yet.
Right.
These are the venues that I'm touring. So that way that planner can give you some insight like, oh, great, this venue is amazing. Here's some
Right.
things to think about when you're going into that tour.
That
So
is really
there-
nice.
Right. So there's pros and cons to doing both, but
Yeah.
yeah. Step one, bless you.
Step one, sneeze. Step one, relax.
I'm allergic to this.
I'm allergic to these conversations.
Stressed.
Step one, relax.
Yes.
Step two,
Breathe.
date. Breathe.
Oh. Step 3.
Date. Step 4, start to form that team.
Yeah.
And start to form it with the top of the team, which is going to be your planner. They're the ones that are going to form the team from there.
Right. Absolutely. So we're
dream
going to
team. lead
lead you the entire way. We're going to, at least for us, we've got a recommended vendor list, which everybody on that list has been vetted for. We've worked with them. We've had nothing but great experiences with.
Right.
You don't have to hire from that list, but you should.
It's a good starting point.
You should trust your vendors.
You should.
And, know that, or trust your planner.
Right.
Obviously. But trust that we're not going to let you hire somebody that we've had bad experiences with.
Right,
So
right.
We can only speak firsthand for what we know. So
Right.
it's more risky. It's not to say that you can't hire off of
Right.
hire somebody that's not on that list, but again, it's just less of a risk.
Yeah. Talk to your planner. Why are they not on your list? Why are they on your list?
Yeah.
knows?
If you have a photographer that you're like, I absolutely love this photographer. I noticed they aren't on your list. Just ask why. There's a good chance. There's so many amazing photographers in Kansas City. There's just a good chance we've never worked with them.
Yeah.
So it's like,
can't have a 50-page recommended vendor list.
Yeah.
Or else a lot of us would. Yeah. Or
Exactly.
maybe there's a reason. We've had more experiences. We've had different types of wedding days with this vendor, this person. We've seen how they've handled certain scenarios. Like, that's why. It's not just because they're friends, but there is that aspect of like,
you do want
want
team
people
to get along on the day, because it's just going to make everything so much better for you.
So much easier for you, so much easier for everyone. So just make sure you're asking. Yeah. So then I guess from there, you have your date, you have your venue, you have your wedding planner. Where are you kind of moving forward from there? What are the, you're now starting that vendor
big
team.
ticket items, yeah.
The big ones.
So I like to start with photographer from there, just because, whoa. Because A, it's important, but B, you are only taking one wedding a day.
Right.
So whereas a florist or a caterer is taking a couple weddings, or I don't know how many, I can't speak for them, but they're taking more than one a day.
Yeah.
Photographer's just taking one.
Right.
So start there. And again, another reason, that personality side of things, it's like you need to vet that.
Yes.
You need more time to figure that out and find the right fit for you.
And this is where I have an opinion as a photographer that kind of sometimes like, I understand it because it's like, okay, you're just trying to do your job, so I get it. But I kind of don't like when a planner reaches out for the couple sometimes.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but it is like, this is another one that is such a personal thing that like, I want you, use your planner, use her as a resource, him or her as a resource of who do you recommend and why? Here's the style you're going for. Use them as a resource to pool those people together. But as far as then
The inquiry.
actually inquiring, it to me, and it's nice, obviously, because it's usually planners that reach out to people that I know. It's you. You reach out to me and you're like, hey, I have a couple that's looking at this
Do you have the date available?
Yes, you have it available, which is good. It does kind of cut from there of like, no, I don't. Okay, good. I'm not going to waste my time then. But I do, sometimes it takes the wind out of my sails when I hear from a planner first. And then they're like, okay, I'll set up a meeting or I'll set up this. And it's like, I want them to come to me just like you would want them to come to you. You need that recommendation to get started to help guide them to make the best decision. But sometimes for me, I get sad when I'm like, the planner set up the meeting. The planner, like I sent them all of my galleries. I asked them questions, like, and I know that can be saved for your consult call and everyone does things differently. But I just do think that photography and planning is so personal that is one that sometimes, I don't know, me personally, I feel like the planner could let the couple be a little bit more involved, and not everyone does it, and it's not a super common thing,
right?
But letting them be a little bit more involved in that initial email or in the initial things that are sent from the photographer that they want to know from them specifically.
Right. And I think it also just depends on the level of planning package that they have.
Right.
Because with my partial planning, first of all, we're working with the couple from the moment that they sign up until wedding day. It's not a 6 months out type of thing, or anything like that. Partial is still the full engagement.
Yeah.
Which is nice to have that. But so what I do is basically I go in, I'm going to send out that initial one just for availability. And then from there, I'm copying in the couple and saying, all right, just wanted to introduce you.
Right.
You guys go ahead and get this scheduled. I'm not in any of those meetings.
Right.
So that's a nice thing with the partial planning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get from your perspective, but again, if they're paying this planner to be doing all of this,
that is true.
So that's where it's hard.
That is kind of, because that is, it's the couple's decision of maybe they don't want to be doing that. But I guess in turn, that does kind of show the photographer, okay, they're maybe not looking for as personal of a connection or relationship, which you don't have to have with your photographer or your planner, so to say. Like, so maybe that does kind of tell you from there, hey, this is going to be one that maybe isn't going to be as involved as you're maybe looking to have in a couple, which isn't a bad thing.
Right. But then it comes down to exactly like what we talked about with Mallory. Yeah. Then you get to make the decision on if it's the right fit for you or not.
Right. That is very true. Do what you want. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's just something I think about sometimes where I'm like, oh, I want to know where their venue is. I want to know what they're excited about. I want to know all of this.
Right.
And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I never got to know. Or it's kind of, sometimes for me, it's sometimes awkward on the call that I'm like, should I know some of this information? Or like they kind of ask me and I'm like.
Do you have planners on the call with you a lot of the time?
Almost always. The ones that set it up are on the call. which I think is also a good thing, not opposed to that. But again, I think sometimes it does get in the way of like, we don't need like, have them there, ask the questions that they're not thinking of, but also trust the photographer that they're going to lead it, and they're going to, because this is their meeting. This is their time to get to know the couple that they may not know them very well.
Right.
So absolutely be there. Not at all that you don't need to be there, but let them take the lead.
Right. Well, I mean, I remember feeling that way working in the venue, and sometimes some planners would kind of take the lead on things, and I'd be like, whoa, why are you? Don't say that.
Right.
That's not, maybe that happened for you once at a wedding here, but that's not the standard, or like, you know, something like that, where it's like, just let me do my job, and then just chime in as needed.
Right. We're all important. We all of our opinions, all of our experiences are all important. But when there are certain parts of a meeting or the day that this is the role of the planner, this is the role of the photographer, this is the role of the florist, like, let that be their turn. Let them have that. You're still doing your job. You're still supporting. But I think that's more of a vendor conversation of making sure we're all letting each other do our jobs, not doing our jobs for each other. Because I can't do your job. Fuck no.
I can't do your job.
I can't do that. I'm not even going to act like I know how to do it.
I don't even know how to work your camera.
Yeah, go ahead. Go start it right now.
Earlier, I was trying. I was like,
She literally goes, how do you turn this thing on? Already on. She goes, oh, you just press that button. But see, I couldn't do, I'm not even going to get into the tests I couldn't do about yours. But yeah, that was more of a tangent on the vendor side, that something I just kind of thought of to bring up. Yeah. But it is good to know, and having that perspective of like, we're trying to do our jobs for the couple. And that's more so on my end to just notice, oh, this is not necessarily personal.
Yeah.
But it kind of is of, okay, this is just a good indicator of kind of what the couple's going to be like. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then from there, photo is usually your next big ticket.
So honestly, I normally do a couple at a time. So it depends on how long the engagement is, of course. But the first, let's say 2 to 3 months average, that's going to be hiring your team.
Yeah.
So I normally do photographer, and then lumped in there would be, I go back and forth. So I like doing catering up front, because that's going to be a big ticket item from a cost perspective.
Right.
So that's going to show you how much room in your budget you have for other vendors based on that. Because that's something where, okay, this is your guest count, like estimated guest count. You know, it's just going to be a bigger ticket item.
Right.
From a cost perspective. So normally throw catering in there. As far as that goes, if you're able to do a tasting before you hire, amazing.
Yeah.
But if not, it's okay. Don't let that stress you. Like if you're an out-of-town couple, you're getting married in Kansas City, you might not necessarily be able to make it back for a tasting before you hire.
Right.
That's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Right.
Anybody
Trust your planner on that end.
Right, exactly. Again, just knowing that, okay, they're not going to have this vendor on my list.
Right.
On their list if it's a bad experience and the food tastes like crap. That's just not going to be the case.
No.
And then your florist is another one that's going to be a little bit of a higher ticket item. So like to do that early on. Then from there, I'll normally do DJ or band. So that's something to think about. Do you want a DJ? Do you want a band? What do you want? A band is going to be more expensive.
Right.
Depending on how many members of the band and all of that. The price just goes up from there. Do you want the band to be on a stage?
Right.
Do you want them on the ground?
Right.
There's another, from a cost perspective, right there.
So many things that go into a band. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But also the experience to have a band it's just so it's more lively and energetic. Not to say that there aren't amazing DJs too.
Right.
But
it's a different experience. Both great. They're just different.
Exactly. So what do you want?
Yeah.
What else do we have in there? Oh, dress is an important one that we haven't hit on.
Yes.
So getting your wedding dress.
Yeah.
Earlier than you think you need it. It takes a while to get these bad boys in.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to be doing is being stressed about if your dress is even going to be in time, and have enough time to get your alterations, because every time you will need to get alterations.
Right.
It's not going to come in perfect. And you, even if it's just adding in the bustle to the dress, like regardless, that's still alterations.
Yeah. That's one you can afford to do early. It's not going to hurt you to do it any early. It's going to help you.
And that's one where it's like, from a planning perspective, we can give you recommendations of bridal salons to go to, but you're going to go and have that appointment, schedule that on your own. You know when you're available, when your friends and family can be there with you if they're coming.
Right.
So, yeah. So do that in the background.
Do that whenever you want in that time frame.
Honestly, 9 to 12 months out.
Yeah. Damn. Go have fun.
Some dresses will come in sooner than that, so don't let that scare you.
And if it does, great. but
Right.
at least you're ahead of the game in case it doesn't. Yeah.
So that's a big one. That's
That
an
is a big
important
one.
one.
Yeah.
The guys, I don't have to really worry about. We normally like 6 months out.
I was going to say, those are
start
kind of
that.
easier.
Yeah. Same with
That comes in
bridesmaids, things like that.
faster.
It's the wedding dress we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so we have the date,
Like,
we
am
have
I
the venue,
confusing
we
you?
have the planner. So then the big ticket items kind of you need to really start thinking about from the bat, which your planner should be working on with you, but you should be expecting to figure out your photographer, your caterer, music, whether it's band or DJ, florist.
Right.
And
then
then-
from there, it's the still important, but a little bit smaller ticket item. So
Right.
cake, do you want a tiered cake or do you want to do some assorted desserts? What are your thoughts there?
Right.
Oh my gosh, there's so many more vendors and I feel so bad that I'm blanking. Transportation is
Right,
one.
right.
So because that's more limited, like if somebody is like, I want to have a trolley, there's like 4. So that's something that
true.
needs to happen
Right.
earlier.
Right.
But if they're like, oh no, just a party bus is fine, then we're like, okay, great. We can push that a little bit further because there's going to be more availability for party buses with different companies.
Right.
So it just depends on how, unique of a, what's the word I want?
Like a timeline?
No.
Like a structure? I'm trying to think.
Unique of a, it doesn't matter.
So, like we said, you kind of have those big ticket ones that you're really in the thick of figuring out and maybe talking to, scheduling meetings, those kinds of things. So now we're kind of moving into the phase of like, don't necessarily need to be making moves, but you need to be thinking. You need to be kind of forming an idea of kind of what are we wanting? Are we wanting this? What do we want this to look like? And vendors that are still important, but not ones you need right away. What are those vendors kind of looking like?
Yeah. Well, before I get into those, I did also want to mention bar is an important one.
Yeah.
If your bar is not included with your venue, then you should put that up there as an important one. So your bartending team, and then a lot of them will provide the alcohol as well through them. But if not, then that would be a separate thing. So you'd have your bartenders as one, and then figure out where you're going to get the alcohol from for the second, which if that's the case, that doesn't need to happen right away.
Right.
Because a lot of factors go into that.
Right. But just thinking.
Biggest one, yeah. What's your guest count? What's that
Uh-huh.
final guest count? How much
Yes.
alcohol do you actually need?
Right. And what does, pending on the rules, usually if they have it included, it's kind of laid out in front of you. But I know some that we don't do bar in-house. Okay, then what can we have? What can't we have? All the things from there. Yeah. Where do we even go about hiring bartenders? What does that look like? All that good stuff. Go to Costco. Anyway.
Costco.
Hey, I'm telling you, we'll talk about that another day. But if you can, go to Costco.
Love it. But yeah, other than that though, your cake and desserts. So do you want to do a tiered cake? Do you want to do a dessert bar? Do you want to bring in desserts from a bunch of different places? Do you want to do it all under one vendor? Things to think about there. And when it comes to that, I'm like, the more personal, the better. Like my wedding this past weekend, they were like, we absolutely love upper crust pie. So they had pies, and that's what they had. They cut into a pie, they did a pie cutting, and all they served were those pies. So things like that. I'm like, think about like, what do you like?
Yeah.
If you hate cake, you don't have to do the traditional wedding cake.
It doesn't have to be any sort of traditional. You don't even have to cut a cake. You don't even have to if you don't want to.
But if you do, then great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I do kind of I haven't even really realized it until last year that I noticed, so many more cake cuttings are private now. That couples are like requesting that it's private. But also cutting their cake, but then giving people desserts or giving people, like, it's not just cake anymore.
Yeah.
Which I kind of love. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for cake. I love my cake. But I do kind of like that we're getting into cake and more, or just this, or whatever it may be. Like you said, like pie.
Right. What do you like?
Yeah.
Ice cream only. Like there's so many different things. Ice cream truck.
Oh.
Like I know there's fun ways to go about it. But
yes, yeah.
So that
cake.
would be one. Your videographer, I would lump into that category.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend trusting your photographer on recommendations there. Because if you care about the styles aligning,
Right.
which I personally think is important. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you do too. But
Yeah. I think more compatibility with
that too,
because we're working
side by side.
side by side.
Right.
Really relying on your photographer for that of we work really well with these people, or hey, I haven't, but I'm excited to. Like that team is just along with photographer and planner. Like that's a very big one that
They're the ones that are going to set the tone for your day.
really loop in your photographer on that. Just when you're thinking. just when you're having an idea, because it is really good to know, hey, we had a bad experience, or hey, I don't work well with them, or if that's who you want to hire, good. I'm just going to let you know from the jump. This is what I think. And they could say the same thing about us.
Right.
Goes hand in hand.
I know it.
It's important.
It's important. It really is.
Yeah.
Your hair and makeup. So start saving photos of things that you, in this, I would do the dress first, because that's going to play in most likely to how you want to do your hair. Do you want it updo? Do you want it down? Yeah. Hair and makeup, start saving photos that you like there. And then I would, if you can, again, when it comes to that, I would do the trial before hiring.
Right.
But knowing that if that's not an option, you can always have multiple trials after hiring them. And if you're unhappy with that first one, I promise you that second one, they're going to be sure to nail. So,
and I also will say too, this can go back and forth. Sometimes it's a good idea to do your makeup trial before your engagements.
Yeah.
But in case you hate it, it can go hand in hand.
Exactly.
It can be a detriment to you. It can be, hey, this is how I'm going to photograph. This is, because not only it's the person that's literally photographing your wedding day, but also you can really get a feel for what it's going to look like.
Right. But also if you don't love it, then those are your engagement photos.
Right.
And that's what you've got.
I've had couples do both. And I'm kind of like, crap, I don't really know what to recommend there.
You know what I did, which I would recommend to anybody? I did my makeup trial the same day I tried on wedding dresses for the first time.
That's what I was going to,
Yeah. So I did that. And then I also, same goes for when you go to pick up your dress. If you can do your hair and makeup trial on that same day, then you're seeing yourself, at least one of them. But if you do hair and makeup, amazing.
Yeah.
You're seeing yourself how you're going to look on your wedding day, the full picture.
Right.
Which some people are like, oh, I'd rather not see until the actual wedding day itself.
Right.
But if you're one of those that are like, I need to know that I love this.
Yes.
That would be my
I want to do it now.
recommendation.
Yeah.
The day you go pick up your dress, schedule the trials for before that.
Right.
Same goes for like a spray tan. If you're like on the fence on if I want to get a spray tan or not, do a trial.
Yeah.
And do it before you have your makeup trial, however many days before, probably like 2.
Yeah.
To see how everything sets,
Right.
see how you look in the
very
dress,
true.
all of that. So
Good one.
Another little tip.
Another little one.
And then your officiant. So if you are hiring, you're not going to use, friends or family, or you're not getting married in a church. That would be one that is important.
Yep.
So move on to officiant, transportation.
Transportation and hotel.
And hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your hotels, you cannot book until a year out. That's when they release the block
blocks.
rates.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
I got you.
That's when that's released. So you wouldn't start that until you're at that year out mark. And if you work with me or Composure Events, we actually do that for you. So that's a nice perk.
That's really nice.
Yeah, because they're fun. I'm like,
I don't
they
wanna
take
mess
a
with
lot
that.
of time.
Yeah,
So
I don't want to mess with that.
yeah. So, but
But just know that it's a lot of work.
right.
If you need to know,
Yeah,
just know.
It is. It is. But we'll take it off your hands.
Yes.
And then from there, it would move into like your save the dates you wouldn't want to do until you have that hotel block. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
You want to have a landing space on that website for guests to book their room right away, even when they get that save the date, because they
Right.
will do it.
Right.
But that's a whole nother topic, save the dates in general. But
We'll go into that later.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand. But
But it does, yeah.
That
Something
and-
to start thinking about again.
But again, that would be, I would say, the big vendor items.
Yeah.
And then from there, once you have the wedding day, kind of happening in the background as well would be the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
So looking into spaces for that. Do you need to bring in catering? Is catering going to be through the space?
Right.
All of that, which traditionally, which again, not that this is the case for everybody, traditionally the groom side of the family handles the rehearsal dinner. So if that's the case, then it can really happen simultaneously while they're kind of handling the lead on that, but you're just giving your opinion.
Right.
That's always helpful to
Right.
not have to do it all yourself. But
Yeah. But if you are doing it all together, relax.
Yeah.
It can come a little bit later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rely on your planner for that. And again, just make sure you're having clear communication with everyone that is involved for that.
Yeah. But that's the basics, because then after that you go into, like rentals. What do you want your place settings to look like? Do we want to bring in chargers?
Right. That's
do we want to bring in a dance floor? All of that.
Right.
Wait until you get all of those vendors actually booked.
Yeah.
And then from there you go into the finer details in design. So we always, in our first design meetings, we review the current floral
Don't go there yet.
Okay.
That's the next episode.
Oh,
that's
just
next
kidding.
one.
You'll have to tune in at a later date to hear more about
Not that one yet. Not design just
We're
yet.
not talking about design.
We're not talking about design. We're not talking about design.
Getting ahead of myself.
Getting ahead. Because we just knocked out a lot of stuff.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of things. And it is, like we said, it's starting with your team. You're building your team. Then the next step, you see what your team's made of. But right now, figuring out what you like
Yep.
and the people that are going to execute it.
Yep.
And making sure you get along, you align, all the things.
Because again, it's a lot of money, and we know that.
Right.
So that's why it is so important. Like, do I want to give this person all this money?
Right.
Vet your vendors, schedule, reach out to more than one. I would say 2, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself too much. And this goes for all the vendors. Like, reach out to your top 2, schedule meetings with those top 2 as well. So that way you've really taken the time to vet and, see what both have to offer and go from there.
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time.
Take your time, but don't take too much time.
Take your time, but don't wait too long.
Or like, but not too much time,
you're right.
because
You're 100%
people
right.
aren't going to hold your date forever.
Correct. Yes.
And that's also not fair to the vendors.
Right.
So
you're right. Take your time in thinking through your process, but
also don't
have a sense of urgency.
Don't overthink it either. And that's when it all comes down to trust, which we always say, like, trust your planner.
Yep.
Just trust your vendors.
Trust them. Which also goes into what we've spoken about a lot, that can be very easy to get overwhelmed, and all the feelings is social media.
Yeah.
When you're making these big decisions of your vendors, we're recommending a lot that you're using social media, that you're using Instagram, you're using TikTok, you're using Google. Yes, but don't overuse. Don't spiral.
Right.
Use it to your advantage. Don't compare. Don't compare yourself to other people.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Don't set yourself next to a trend. If there's things you like it.
And if it is a trend, that's fine.
Yes.
But as long as you're still going to like it in however many months and it gets closer to the day, do you just like it because it's a trend, or do you actually like it?
Right. Exactly. Really make sure you're checking in with yourself, with your partner. Is this what we actually want? Is it not? But not getting stuck in that spiral of, I know the algorithm can hurt you. It can just bring a lot of stuff to you, and it throws a lot of things at you, and it can make you second guess, and it can make you overthink, and just encouraging you to not get stuck in that. Yes. Trust your gut. Really, write it down. Don't do it on your phone. Don't put it, just set it aside. Do it separately. Write it down. Do things outside of your computer, your phone. Look through old magazines.
I know. Pick up an actual book.
Pick up a book. Like,
flip those pages,
do that old school stuff. No, like, really go through. This sounds cheesy, but like, go through your parents' wedding albums. Go through your grandparents. Go through a family member.
Think back to the weddings that you've attended, the things that you absolutely loved, the things that you were like, oh my gosh, this cannot happen at my wedding. I absolutely do not want that. And just making a list with those items, that's going to be helpful too.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember, for me personally, like, working in the industry while planning my wedding, it was so hard to be like, what do I like? And is this me? Or again, am I just following a trend?
Right.
And I feel like I changed my vision for florals multiple times. But that's the beauty of it. It's like, yes, I have my florist booked, but that doesn't mean that my vision can't change after I booked them. That doesn't mean that this proposal isn't adjustable.
Right.
I can totally change my color scheme if I want to until it's set in stone at whatever 30-day out, whatever market may be for that vendor.
Right.
Nothing's set in stone until then.
Right.
So.
What matters is you're just making sure it's what you want. It's not you're going off of someone else's wedding day and, wow, that's beautiful, but that's not your day. It's not your vendors.
That might not be in your budget.
It might not be realistic. Looks beautiful. Doesn't mean your day's not going to be beautiful too. But don't judge, or don't put your wedding day next to someone else's. Make sure it's yours.
And hire a planner.
No, hire the planner.
But honestly, though, it's just, I'm not just saying that because I am one. It's like, you're going to feel so much better just knowing that you have somebody by your side throughout the whole process and guiding you throughout it all. Like, we're breaking down everything you're focusing on each month up until the day, so you never have to question it. Right. We're going to put together a wedding estimate for you once we've had that initial meeting, and we have a better idea of things, at least at this point in time, we know you like and you want. Here's realistically what it's going to cost. Knowing that costs can always change. inflation's a thing.
Yeah.
So you might see something with like a cost posted on social media from 2023 that's not going to be realistic for 2025 or 2026.
Yeah.
So don't get caught up on that either.
Right. I saw something yesterday. I think I screenshot them actually, which I also want to go back to your point about a planner too. So remind me to go back to that. But there were 2 separate posts that I saw within an hour of each other. And both said like the average cost of a wedding in 2024. And the numbers could not have been more different. And one specifically said average cost of wedding in 2024 with this budget. The other one was just broad. And I just kind of went through the comments and I was like, first of all, I think that's low for a photographer. I think that's low for a wedding planner. Like all these things that don't get caught in that. And there was someone that said like, that commented and said, brides, do not fall into this trap. Your wedding does not have to be what this looks like. Do what you and your partner want, not what tradition or anyone is not paying for the wedding tell you what to do. It does not have to be expensive to be great. And then other people were saying like, I think this is accurate 10 years ago. It's like everywhere is different. Every market is different. Every wedding is different. Every couple is different. Like use social media as a tool. Don't use it to hurt you. Because I just saw that seeing those like back to back was just kind of like, whoa. One was saying like venue 13,000, venue 8,000. Like that's a big jump. Where are you getting married? What's included? Like there's so many things that go into that although that can be helpful, especially like if you're just posting in Kansas City, like average wedding in Kansas City, that is helpful. But make sure you're realizing, is this person posting this from a different country, a different state? All the markets are very, very different.
Right. And I also think it's important to know, like, as far as like a DIY wedding, like what can you actually realistically tackle yourself and what makes more sense to just hire out.
Right.
Like florals, for example. I'll have brides be like, I'm just going to do the flowers myself. And I'm like, okay, are they going to be real flowers?
Right.
You're going to need to have all of the centerpieces made in advance and they're going to need to be put into a cooler. Do you have a industrial size cooler to store all of these? And then how are you going to transport them to
who's going to do
the venue
that
on the day? Who's going to set all that up? Because that's above my pay grade.
Yep.
Like, we've got more things we need to, deal with. On top of that, we are going to have to hire extra staff. So then you're going to pay for extra staff to do all of that. So does it make more sense just
then you end up spending more money.
I know.
Yeah. Trust your planner. And that's why I wanted to get back to too, that you were talking about of like hire the wedding planner. And hire the wedding planner, obviously the biggest recommendation is hire the full planning, but maybe within your budget, at least day of coordination. At the very, very minimum.
Because then you're still going to get, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but at least for what I know, you're still going to get a bunch of helpful tools and you're still going to have access to like a quick 5-minute email response with that planning company, even if you're just a day of client.
Right.
So you still have them in your court and you still have the tools and resources that the full planning or partial planning couples might have.
Right.
But you're just doing all the legwork on your own.
Yes. Which, and if that works for you and that makes sense for you,
have the time,
or that's you
like feel like you got it.
Yeah.
You don't need that support.
Right.
Great.
And that's maybe just what has to make sense with your budget. Great. Just make sure you're getting that help. Seeking out that help.
Trusting the professionals.
Because your family is great. Your friends are great. They're always going to be there to help you. And they're going to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that day is what you want it to be. But
there's a reason why wedding planning is a career. There's
also
a reason why photography is a career.
Right.
Any of these vendors, there's a reason.
And we promise we're not just saying it to keep us in business. We're saying it to help you because you're not going to realize how beneficial they are until the day's over. And then you're going to look back and go, damn, I wish I did.
Right.
Or, wow, I'm glad I did.
Right. Emotions are just so high.
Yeah.
It's just, weddings are a beast.
They are.
And you don't want to have to be thinking about any of the logistics on your day.
No.
You're just not.
No. Hire the people that'll do it for you.
The day goes by so fast already
so
as
fast.
is.
Yeah.
So,
you need all the mental space that you can to just take in what's in front of you and as it goes.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Well, obviously.
Gotcha.
There's much more that goes into, planning a wedding. This is just the basics. This is the starting points of where to start, what vendors to hire, what order we would recommend. And there's more parts to this series, we'll call it.
Right? Yeah. There's 2 more parts.
2 more.
At least.
Yeah, we'll see.
More
We've got
parts
2
at
more
least.
set up for now.
Yes.
Where we'll go into more detail for next steps from here. But congratulations if you are
Congrats.
a
Yes.
recently engaged couple.
Yes. And if you have, obviously, we like skimmed the surface on
Oh,
so
yeah.
many things. If there are specifics, ask your wedding planner. But also, if you're maybe not engaged yet, but you're kind of, thinking it might happen sometime soon, or you're just generally curious, ask us.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the answers,
But here's
find 'em.
I may have to step on a soapbox just for a
oh,
second.
okay, let's do
I
it.
haven't done this.
No, your turn, Sarah.
If you
Yes.
if you are family or friends with somebody who is a wedding planner for their career, don't abuse that. I'm happy to give you advice here and there, but I'm not planning your wedding for you, and I'm not it puts me in a very awkward situation
Yes.
when somebody is like, "Oh, I'm going to have lots of questions, blah blah blah."
Yep.
blah. And I'm like, do you want to hire me?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Right.
So just don't abuse that. If you do have somebody near and dear to you that is in the industry, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you for
all.
stepping on
Just a
that
little mini soapbox.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
That was a good mini soapbox.
little-
Yeah.
just a little
We're
one.
not going to be here to tell you everything because there's people out there that you should hire to do those things. But if there are small specifics, especially in relation to our careers, but mainly like in general that you're curious about, we might not answer if you give us like 20 questions. We might answer like one of them. But if there's things that you're genuinely curious about, we'd love to hear them. But ask the people that you hired. Ask the people that you trust. And they will give you those answers. Wait, I didn't realize. Can they hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is it going? I
You have to hold it down.
There it is.
Learning.
Learning something new every day.
Every day.
Well, hopefully that was helpful. I feel like I was a little bit all over the place, and I promise I know what I'm doing. But
We all know what we're
if
doing.
it didn't come across that way, my bad.
I
We're
think
doing
it
the
was-
best. Doing my best.
Doing my best. We're here to kind of help and have fun, but like we're just here to chat.
Yeah.
We're just here to
Hang out.
hang out.
Give
yeah.
your thoughts.
Yeah. But again, ask those people.
Ask those people.
Ask those people. But thanks for listening to us ramble.
Ramble.
I'm like, what's the
We're
word
just
I
a couple
wanna use?
rambling woman.
Thanks for letting us give our opinions.
Our 2 cents.
Our 2 cents about kind of where to start with planning, and we're excited for you. And hopefully this maybe just helps give you some encouragement or some support in which step you maybe need to step into, or which decision maybe you're thinking about making that you weren't sure of. Hopefully this just kind of helps give you some encouragement that you're doing great. Wedding planning is hard, but it should also be fun.
Yeah.
So make sure you're still
Absolutely.
finding the fun in it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a short season of your life in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So don't let it overwhelm you too much.
Right. Have some fun. Enjoy it. Yeah.
It's going to be a great wedding.
It
It's going to be a
is.
great day.
It's going to be a great time. Well,
Well, we'll be back next week
yeah.
with
We're
another
not telling.
guest. Question mark? Not who, but
But
with a guest
with a guest.
that we're very excited about.
He's so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Everyone that we have, I'm so excited.
It's going to be good.
It is.
So tune in next week, and we wish you
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We wish you well. We hope you stay warm. It's really freaking cold. I was gonna say we wish you a great week ahead, but I think I like Merry Christmas better.
I think I like Merry Christmas also. They're hearing this on a Thursday.
Oh shoot! Have a great weekend, guys.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.